We are live for the Royal Rumble predictions. Welcome, everybody, to the Squared Circle Psychobabble, my favorite pay-per-view of the year. We are predicting the Royal Rumble show, the matches, and we're going to do some live Q&A here. So thank you for joining us so far. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, this is, like I said already, my favorite pay-per-view of the year. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it?
Absolutely excited for it. There's a lot of uncertainty for tonight, a lot of uncertainty surrounding the two Royal Rumble matches, both the men's and the women's. And if there's one thing that this pandemic could not stop, it was the Royal Rumble from happening. So, yes, I'm certainly excited. It will give us an opportunity to just focus on professional wrestling, at least for tonight, lose ourselves in the moment, and hopefully we're having some good conversations about some good matches, maybe some surprise entrants tomorrow following the pay-per-view. But yeah, absolutely excited for this.
I'm excited too. I am going to be a little upset, because there's no actual physical fans there. That's, unfortunately how it is.
Yeah.
But the Thunderdome and the piped-in audience, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Once we get into the show, I just hope they don't make it completely corny with some of the piped-in audience reactions.
First of all, you know you're gonna get it. You know you're gonna get some type of countdown that's piped in. And you know, they've been doing it all along. They're going to do it tonight. I think as long as the matches deliver and maybe we get a couple of surprise entrants, then I think that will be more than enough for people to be happy with this Royal Rumble. Ultimately, what it's going to come down to is who wins and who's on the path to WrestleMania to either main event or, wrestle for a championship, because that's the important thing. That's really what's at hand tonight. So that's what they're all wrestling for.
Yeah, totally agree. And like I said, guys, we're going to be answering questions after we're done with our predictions. If you want to get those questions in, use the hashtag question in the chat before your question. It makes it easier for me to read the question. We're going to go in the order that they come in. But if you want to cut the line, you join the super chat party, any dollar amount with your question. We answer it as soon as we see the super chat come in. Ralph, shall we get started with our predictions?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. We're going to start off with the Women's Tag Team Championship match. It is Asuka and Charlotte Flair going up against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in a rematch of TLC. Honestly, Ralph, this one is probably the most predictable match of the night. Maybe even the SmackDown Women's match, which we'll get into in a little bit. But either way, I think this match is pretty predictable. What do you think?
I think it is. I think it is mostly because Asuka's involved in the match and she's the women's champion. I think that, they have to get the titles off of both Charlotte and Asuka. Who knows? I mean, we may even see something happen in the match where Charlotte costs them the match or Asuka ends up costing them the match, leading up into something at WrestleMania between Charlotte and Asuka. But yeah, I don't see them retaining the titles here. So I'm going to go with Nia and Shayna in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the plan is get the titles off Charlotte and Asuka, then they start a feud, and that leads to a match either at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or whatever it is. So I definitely think these titles are dropping, and it won't be the last time we see them. I think all four of them, well, Asuka's not, but the other three are in the Women's Royal Rumble match. So we'll see how this all develops, but let's head to the next match. We got Sasha Banks versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think this match is going to be a sleeper. I know we have only 4 matches outside of the Royal Rumble matches, but if I had to pick one that I think could be a match of the night or a surprise match of the night, it's this one. I mean, these two tore it down at TLC last month. Arguably Carmella's best match ever. And Sasha, I think ever since she's come back and had this SmackDown title run, I don't think she's had a bad match yet.
No, I agree. I think Sasha's been very good. This is probably the most confident we've seen her and the most comfortable we've seen her in this role. And I know that's kind of crazy to say considering that she's always been so good in the ring, but I really think she's starting to come into her own, becoming more comfortable, becoming that person that the company can rely on to have that longer championship reign. Because I mean, the knock on her has always been she can't win big matches and that she can't have longer championship title reigns. So
Mhm.
yeah, as far as the match itself, definitely looking forward to this, especially considering the match that they previously had was already very good. Carmella, ever since her return, she's been very good in her role. So definitely looking forward to this. I do have Sasha Banks winning this because I think that she needs to retain the title going into WrestleMania. She's usually playing the chaser, but like I said, I really feel like she's coming into her own. She's becoming more comfortable as a champion, as somebody that can really carry that title and carry a storyline, which she's shown she's been capable of doing. So I have Sasha winning going into WrestleMania as champion.
Do you think now with her, doing the Star Wars thing and really been a top ratings draw for the past year and a half, would you make the argument that she is the megastar of WWE right now?
You could certainly say that she's one of them. Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, at this point, like you said, doing all these things, whether it's Star Wars or anything else, getting all of this attention outside of just professional wrestling, that helps her. That means that she's going to get a little more attention from people who wouldn't normally be watching pro wrestling. So, yeah, I think you could make the case that she is one of the top draws there for sure.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree. I think at this point, it's either Sasha, Bailey, or Roman as like the big stars of WWE, all on SmackDown. And part of the reason why SmackDown is just so much better than Raw right now. I mean, you look at Sasha Banks and they have stories for her in her title run. They have opponents lined up for her. What the heck is going on with Raw and the women's? Like Asuka, when was the last time she even defended the Raw Women's Championship? September? Oh, wait, there was the Alexa match. But other than that,
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, Raw's got a lot of problems. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say it's all on, you know, it's championship title matches. It's more on the creative side of things and some of the things that
Mhm.
we see on a week to week basis. But yeah,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, SmackDown certainly seems to be the much better show in comparison to Monday Night Raw for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. So you're going with Sasha?
I'm going with Sasha here. Yeah.
Do you think there's any way Reginald gets involved and gets Carmella the win?
I mean, yeah, there is, but then kind of where do they go from there leading into WrestleMania? I feel like all the things we talked about, Sasha being in Star Wars, getting all of this extra attention, being one of their bigger draws. Why would you just take the title off of her going into the most important season for pro wrestling for WWE? Like you're
Mhm.
leading into the road to WrestleMania, essentially,
Right.
as we know it. Why would you take the title off one of your top stars? I don't see it. Um,
Unless they
uh,
want her to chase to Mania. Maybe she loses and then ends up in the women's Royal Rumble to win it. Eventually Carmella drops it to Bailey. We get that
yeah,
rematch. That's certainly one way to do it. So who knows? But I go with you on this one. I will agree that Sasha is retaining and probably the 100% definite retention out of the four. But we'll see how this goes. The one match I think everybody is scared about
mm,
as to what the hell's going to happen here, because you want to think WWE has learned their lesson, but nope, they probably won't. Goldberg challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. On a scale to 1 out of 100, how scared are you that WWE pulls the trigger and gives Goldberg the WWE Championship?
how scared am I? I'm 100% scared for this because if they do that, I mean, I really don't know how fans are going to react.
They're going to hate it. They
Look,
are
look.
going to hate it. I mean, we
Of
already had
course
the
they're going to hate it.
backlash. We already have the backlash already with the fact that they're already giving him a title shot. Like people already hate the fact that Goldberg is in there. I don't know if you watched backstage last night. Even Paige was like, Goldberg does not need this. It's unneeded. But yet we actually have this doubt in our mind, like that Drew McIntyre may not retain.
Well, look, Drew McIntyre should retain. right? He's been one of their top guys. He's been one of the guys that can be relied upon over the ever since he won the Royal Rumble last year. Drew McIntyre has been one of their better performers, better wrestlers, week in, week out, on the mic, in the ring, main events, everything.
Hmm.
Everything they've asked him to do, he's been great. And it's even more impressive because when you think back to Drew McIntyre, I mean, this is the guy that was in 3MB. He was essentially cast away from the WWE, made his way back, worked his way up through NXT. And that path to becoming a top guy for somebody like that, just it doesn't happen that often. He should win this match. Fans should feel nervous for him to lose this match, and they should be upset if he loses this match.
Yeah.
But the problem with Bill Goldberg has never been Bill Goldberg's abilities, because everybody knows that Goldberg isn't going to go out there and have, a 5-star match. It's never been Goldberg who goes out there and steals the show. He's
Right.
had cool moments with Brock Lesnar. He's had some big matches with, the jackhammer and everything else, whether you go back to WCW with Hogan or whatever the case may be. But the problem with Bill Goldberg has been the way they booked him. Two things, really. Beating the Fiend, that was it. That was the downfall. He should not have beaten the Fiend, because that was where the fans really turned against him in his terrible match against The Undertaker.
Hmm.
Those are the two things that are going against Bill Goldberg, and that's why people resent him in these positions.
Yep.
If you go back to when he returned, people loved it. People were all about it. Even when he beat Brock Lesnar, even when he went back and came back and beat Dolph Ziggler, like, people were still into that. But
Because they
WWE
weren't
has booked
title
him,
matches. That's the problem. He comes back against Lesnar, sure, main evented Survivor Series, but it wasn't for a title. And then he beats Kevin Owens in a match that, honestly, that should have, like, that whole thing was Kevin Owens should have faced Jericho for the Universal Championship. And all they needed to do was have Jericho win the Rumble and Kevin Owens hold on till Mania. And that could have been a huge match at Mania. But instead, Jericho doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens gets squashed, although distracted by Jericho. It ends up being the second match on the night, and honestly, it disappointed. Even Vince McMahon was like, that match was not what I was expecting. So maybe Vince was right on that. But still, Goldberg does not need to be in these championship matches, and I'll agree to that. But I understand where they're coming from with this. If Goldberg manages to win, I think Drew McIntyre enters the Rumble, becomes a back-to-back winner, and faces Roman at Mania. That's the only reason why I think this happens. I don't see it any other way happening. Like, I am not as scared as people think, and I think Drew's going to retain.
I'll tell you this much, okay? We talk about this all the time on this show. Wait and see how the story plays out. But if they're going to have Goldberg win the championship tonight, they better damn well have a really, really, really good storyline cooked up leading into WrestleMania to justify putting the title on Bill Goldberg, because fans are going to get pissed off. Fans are going to get upset, and rightfully so, maybe. And really, I just don't see any reason for it. I don't know. Am I nervous? Yeah, because I can't put it past WWE to put the title on Bill Goldberg, especially considering the news that, we talked about the Peacock deal and maybe putting the title on somebody who's a little more recognizable to some of the casual fans or the fans who have stopped watching. But I still think Drew is going to win this match. That more than certainly he should win this match. It's just a matter of Vince has final say, man.
Yep.
And has Drew McIntyre done enough over the course of a year to prove to Vince McMahon that he is the guy that should potentially main event WrestleMania, either him or Roman Reigns?
But there's two nights. There's also two nights. So you can have Roman main event one and Drew main event the other.
So we both agree, though, that Goldberg should not be main eventing a WrestleMania at this point in his career.
Correct? No. But apparently he has two matches on his contract. I guess 2 matches a year for whatever years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's have him lose. Let's have him enter the Rumble, get eliminated. There's your 2 matches by Goldberg. Can we just make that happen, please?
Honestly, I don't have a problem with Goldberg. I think Bill Goldberg still has some value at this point in his career. Now, that value should not be inserted into main event matches or championship matches or Royal Rumble wins or anything like that. But Goldberg is Goldberg. We
Yes.
like Goldberg for the nostalgia of him. The jackhammer, the spear, and that's it. That's what he's been about. There is no more Goldberg streak. That's done and over with. This isn't the Attitude Era. There's new wrestlers. There's new fans, and he has his place now. It's not like you're going to see Hulk Hogan come out, give a big boot and leg drop and win a championship.
Right.
But you know what? If it were WrestleMania and it was sold out, and maybe not Hogan at this point in his career, because he's kind of on people's shit list, but
Yeah.
Austin, right? I mean, if Austin were to come out, stun people, drink beers at WrestleMania, go nuts, the place would love it.
They would.
But I can't say that people would want to see Stone Cold win a title at this point in his career or retirement or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, Goldberg has value, just not in this type of match.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, no, he should not win the Royal Rumble. No, he should not win the championship. I'm going with Drew McIntyre here. Am I nervous? Yeah, if there's one match I'm nervous about, it's this one.
Yeah, I know, but it's only because we've seen this before with The Fiend and Kevin Owens. It's like, you want to be like 100%. This is like Drew's moment to be solidified as the top guy. But as I've seen in the chats, Vince loves to screw fans, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when you piss the fans off, they get a bigger reward at the end if they just wait and see. But maybe not the time to pull that trigger. But let's move on to the next match, Ralph. The Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, last man standing match. To be honest with you, I have loved this story from the beginning. That go home segment was very good. Kevin Owens with the passionate promo on SmackDown. It was literally like, that's what should have closed SmackDown this Friday, because after that segment, the show went off the freaking rails, because Monday Night Raw came in and was like, and just crapped all over SmackDown. Was like, oh, you want to be the best show ever? Well, we're bringing all our guys and bringing all our screwy finishes. Not only are we going to have one disqualification lead to a multi-man tag, we're going to have two and lead to Braun Strowman coming in and wreaking havoc. But back to the match itself.
Do you remember when Vince McMahon did that epic vignette or promo where he was going to inject the WWE with the poison of the NWO?
Yep.
I could just envision Vince spinning around and having the Raw emblem or the Raw
logo
symbol on the back of his chair. Yeah, just injecting the literal poison, just the filth and the stench that's associated with Monday Night Raw. And no, I'm not talking about The Fiend or Alexa Bliss's storyline here. I'm talking about the literal stench that comes in with the dead carcass that is Monday Night Raw. All of the nastiness that comes along with it. That's what happened in that main event.
Yeah.
Dragged in the corpse of Monday Night Raw, laid it in the ring. There was no Undertaker to save this segment. It was freaking terrible. But that might be my only rant of the day today.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But back to this match itself. We already seen a TLC match. We've seen a steel cage match. These guys have torn it down every time they're in the ring for a match. This is actually a repeat match back in 2017 for the Universal Championship. That was a no disqualification match. That was a very good match. I think I have to rewatch it before the Royal Rumble tonight, but I'm excited for this match. If not for the two Rumble matches, this one would be the money match. And I know they're going to, put it out there. It's going to be 5 stars for every wrestling fan, 3.5 if it's Meltzer, 2.5 if it's not in the Tokyo Dome. So where do you think this match ends up?
Who wins, or how many stars does it get?
Both. Who wins? How many stars?
Well, I don't really give a shit about star ratings, so I'm not going to put a prediction on that. I think Roman wins this.
You think so?
Roman wins. He has to. I mean, look, like I said, Drew and Roman have been their money guys. Roman, if you're somebody who watches, let's say, AEW, WWE, and you pay attention to pro wrestling, there's a couple of things that people are interested in. 1, Kenny Omega storyline. 2, Kenta and Moxley. And I would say 3, Roman Reigns has been out of the park good. Everybody's talking about him. You don't take the title off of him going into WrestleMania. I love Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is great. Maybe he goes into the Royal Rumble tonight and I don't know, potentially wins. But I don't see them taking the title off Roman.
I don't
really
either. Especially the way that SmackDown is building their roster right now. Like, they have a lot of guys that could potentially be the next man up for his next opponent, whether that's Shinsuke Nakamura or Cesaro or Daniel Bryan. And Kevin Owens might have another match if he wins the Rumble, or Bill Goldberg if that happens. Let's hope not. But you know, the spear versus spear thing, that's such a stupid ass way to build a match. Oh, well, one went to Georgia, the other one went to Georgia Tech. No, Vince, that's not how this works. It's not Brady and Mahomes. No one cares. Don't let Goldberg anywhere near Roman Reigns, because all the great stuff that happened with him. Go ahead.
It's spare versus spare. Who doesn't want to see that?
Then put Edge in the match. At least people would like Edge versus Roman if that happens. But I'm actually, I actually, as a fan, let's assume I don't do podcasting. Let's assume I'm just watching as a fan, not knowing the inner workings, just watching the TV show. I want Kevin Owens to win. But as the wrestling fan, as understanding how it works, the business aspect, Roman's got to win. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And I just want Kevin Owens to just start the match off, beating the ever-loving crap out of him, especially after the way Roman cut his promo on Friday night. That was such a good segment, not going to lie. All right, Ralph. Before we head to our Royal Rumble matches, just want to remind everybody, for those that are just joining us, welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. We're going to answer questions after we're done with our predictions. All you got to do is put the hashtag question next to your question in the live chat. We're going to answer them in the order they come in. But if you want to cut that line, donate it to the Super Chat Party. Any dollar amount works. And we'll answer that question as soon as you donate. Also, we got some merchandise, as you see behind me: t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, sweatshirts, a lot of stuff here. You get 10% off today using the promo code SCPB10. Link in the description. So definitely check out our cool merch. Not only do we have the logo, we have a Ratings 1849 t-shirt and a Watch Wrestling Everyday t-shirt. Definitely cool looking shirts there. Check them out. Link in the description again. All right. Royal Rumble time, Ralph.
You're really selfish for that.
Why is that?
You're really selfish right now, because you didn't even plug the segment I asked you to plug.
So plug it right now.
Be on our Instagram page. That's your job. I'm not the guy that runs this thing. I don't do anything associated with this. I show up, I clock in, I clock out, and I go sit on the couch and watch the show.
Okay.
You're the behind the scenes guy. You do all the editing and plugging and intros and outros. I got to put my glasses on, because now we're going to get into some notes I need here. But go ahead. Go ahead, plug it, please.
What are those, cornet glasses?
No, these are my prescription glasses. What's wrong with them?
You have prescription glasses?
Plug the damn thing. What's going on with you?
All right. Ralph, if you follow us on Instagram at SCPB Podcast, Ralph is going to be doing reactions on Instagram for the Royal Rumble. So after the matches, check out our Instagram page. Watch him react, whether good or bad. It should be a lot of fun, because when Ralph gets pissed off, and you guys have seen a little bit of it on this podcast, you don't see it behind the scenes, and he'll go off sometimes. Like, he has some rants, but definitely check it when something really bad happens tonight. Like Bill Goldberg beats Drew McIntyre tonight.
I promise you, if Goldberg wins tonight, you'll be in for a treat. So
check it out.
If you're not already subscribed or following our Instagram page, get over there and check it out.
Yep. And
let's
you also
get into the Women's Royal Rumble, shall we?
All right, let's do it. Now, we know that number 30 is Natalya. And that was because of the match between her and Tamina last night on Backstage. Natalya won the match, so she gets in at number 30. So, Ralph, do you think Natalya stays at number 30, or is there going to be something happening? She gets attacked from behind or gets mysteriously injured, and someone else becomes number 30?
All right, let's be honest with ourselves here. As fans, every year we get ourselves all excited for this number 30 entrant, thinking it's going to be some surprise. It's going to be CM Punk. It's going to be Rhea Ripley. It's going to be Tessa. It's somebody that hasn't wrestled for years and years and years. And more times than not, we're let down because that number 30 entrant ends up being somebody that we see on a weekly basis. One year, I forget who it was. It was Rey Mysterio. Everybody thought it was going to be like Kenny Omega or
No, it was Daniel
whatever
Bryan.
the case was.
The 2014 Rumble.
People thought yeah.
Daniel Bryan was supposed to come in at 30. The crowd was chanting Daniel Bryan. Ends up being Rey Mysterio, and the crowd just craps all over the rest of the match. Batista ends up winning. Daniel Bryan's not even in it. They were chanting for a number 31 to be Daniel Bryan, and then WrestleMania was born. So,
yes. Well, anyway, so what I'm getting at here is maybe WWE is giving us the heads up. Hey, Natty's going to be number 30. Don't get all upset when she comes out, when she enters the Royal Rumble. Don't get excited for some crazy surprise entrant because it's not going to happen. And now we're going to have the conversation. Well, who's going to attack her? Well, probably nobody. Maybe Natty's actually going to enter the Rumble at
right.
30, as they say. I don't know, man. Who could it potentially be? Ronda Rousey?
It could be
Ronda, Becky. I don't think Becky's going to be there. But
no. Like, I'm not 100% sure on how the recovery works for pregnant women. I will learn that by April when my son is born, but I'm pretty sure a month is definitely not enough time to have her recuperate and then head into the ring and be in a Royal Rumble match. So I'm not saying Becky Lynch is going to be the one. Ronda could be, but I'm with you on this. I do not think this was set up to be like a swerve and eventually get attacked like R-Truth was by Nia Jax, and then Nia enters. I don't see that happening. Natalya, as much as people might like or dislike her, she is a ring general. Like, she is solid enough in the ring and can direct the match. I honestly do not see her getting out of this match. She's going to help the Rumble, so I don't see that happening. Now, of the participants that we do know, there are only 14 of those names announced. So we have Bayley, Bianca Belair, Natalya, Nia Jax, Charlotte, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Tamina. Out of the final 16, what surprise entrants do you have coming out?
I think Rhea Ripley is more than certainly going to be in this Women's Royal Rumble.
I agree.
I mean, she kind of has to be, in my opinion, because think about it. She was essentially cast away from NXT. Not that she was cast away, but she didn't necessarily go out in a winning fashion. She pretty much went out on a losing streak. Pretty much, she's talked about how the loss to Charlotte Flair, she's lost her confidence. It just makes too much sense for her to enter the Royal Rumble. Whether she wins it or not, I'm not sure. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I think Rhea Ripley is definitely somebody who is going to make it a surprise entrant here.
Yep, I agree. And as far as I know, Trish Stratus has not been announced as a entrant, but I'm seeing in the live chat, why did they announce Trish Stratus as a entrant? If someone could confirm that for me in the chat, please let me know. But I could totally see Trish Stratus ending up in this Royal Rumble, especially when you only have 16. You have more than half the people yet to be announced. I do think they're going to have some NXT names. Rhea, like you said, I believe Casey Catanzaro could be one of those NXT women, and Kaden Carter. I could totally see someone to the likes of maybe. Let's see. Maybe Mercedes Martinez. Maybe Toni Storm again.
How about Eva Marie? We've been hearing for months. She's training.
I could see it.
Going to debut.
I could see it. I could see Eva Marie making her return.
All read everything or no?
Yes. Yeah. I could totally see that. I could even see. I could see Melina too, coming back tonight for the Rumble, because she was at Legends Night, right? Yeah, she was at Legends Night.
Now we said what? There's 16 women announced, so there's a lot
14
of
announced,
for
16
there,
unannounced.
16. Okay, 16 unannounced. So that's a lot. That's a lot of women that could potentially debut, be surprise entrants. Yeah, so that's going to make things interesting for sure. And the big name everybody's talking about, or the rumors, Ronda Rousey, is she going to make an appearance? It's likely if she's going to be in it, though. I mean, she's got to win. She's got to win, in my opinion.
I agree. If she's in it, she has to win. But who does she go after? Does she go after Sasha? Does she go after whoever the Raw Women's Champion is? Like, she doesn't necessarily need to win, but I feel like she is probably going to win if she's in it, because you could set up her match without the Royal Rumble win. I think this is a night where they really need to showcase a lot of the women that don't get a lot of airtime, or they're not quite the main event level yet, but this is going to be a showcase. Last year, we saw that with Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair. I definitely think Bianca Belair is going to have another. She's probably going to end up being like the Kane of the Royal Rumble, where she just has all these amazing performances, but might not necessarily win the whole thing. I could totally see that. I definitely see her getting most eliminations. Who do you think gets most eliminations tonight?
I got Beth Phoenix.
Really? So that's another surprise entry. You have Beth being a surprise entrant and getting the most eliminations.
I thought she already said she was going to be in the Rumble. Did I mistake that?
No, she is not. She's not been confirmed. At least I'm going by the Wikipedia page, so I could be wrong because Wikipedia isn't exactly the greatest source, but Beth Phoenix is not a confirmed participant in this Royal Rumble. Now, Edge is there. Edge is there. Beth Phoenix just showed up on NXT doing commentary in person instead of at home. So it's possible she'll be in the Rumble. So if she is, you have her at most eliminations.
Yes.
All right.
I do.
All right. I have, like I said, I have Bianca doing that. So who's going to be the Iron Woman? We don't know who's number 30. That's Natalya. We don't know who's number 1 and 2, like in the men's. Who's the Iron Woman in this match?
I got to go with Bianca. I think Bianca last year had an amazing showing. I think this year is really going to be meant to highlight her because, one, she's coming in off a win over Bayley, which is going to get her some momentum. 2, she's an intricate part to the storylines going on SmackDown. And 3, and most importantly, the fans are behind her. So, like you said, she doesn't need to necessarily win this, but I think she's going to come out of this looking really good heading into WrestleMania season. So I'm going to go with Bianca as the Iron Woman.
I'm going to go with someone just because they're going to have her in early, and then they're going to do some voodoo magic, maybe have the Ultimate Warrior puke up some green crap. I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss as the Iron Woman. Last year, she was number 1 and lasted, I think, 20 minutes. This year, she doesn't necessarily have to be in the match that long. She could disappear and then come back in. I could totally see her being the Iron Woman. And a lot of people even are worried that she's even going to win the whole thing. I don't think she's going to win it, but I could totally see her being the Iron Woman. Now, with that said, who is the final 4 in your women's Royal Rumble match? And this one I think is going to be tough because first off, we don't even have half of the Rumble entrants announced. And even with the ones that are announced, I don't see all right, these are definitely the final 4.
Right. So here's who I got. I got Charlotte Flair, I got Bianca, I got Nia Jax, and I got Bayley. Those are my final 4 for this match.
Okay. My final 4 is Bianca Belair, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley. Now, with that said, who wins?
All right. I got Bayley winning this.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that because I think a lot of people want to see Bianca win, but bear with me here. Going into WrestleMania is roughly, 2.5 months away, however long it is. You want somebody who's going to be confident in their role, who can go out there week in and week out and carry a storyline verbally to get you to the point where you want to see that person either lose or win a championship. Bianca and Bayley have been going back and forth and have this feud going on. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to, like I said, those 2 will be involved in the final 4. Now, Bianca doesn't need to win this Royal Rumble to go into WrestleMania and to, fight for a title. They can work something out where she gets inserted into that match. Now, if you have Bayley win the Royal Rumble here, she can carry the storyline leading into WrestleMania, rather than having to put all of that responsibility and stress on the shoulders of somebody who just came up from NXT. Now Bianca Belair is amazing. She's going to be one of the biggest stars, I think, in all of pro wrestling.
I agree.
I think a lot of people see the talent that she has in the ring, but why would you want to put the responsibility on somebody who just got called up from NXT not too long ago and say, okay, you're going to carry a storyline from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, knowing the way fans react nowadays? They will lose interest, I think. Give the responsibility to somebody like Bayley. Let her carry it. Then you get Sasha, Bayley, and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Let Bianca win the championship there. All that matters, the most important part, is the end game. How does this end? As long as Bianca's in that main event at WrestleMania, That's the important part. So I'm going with Bayley here. I think Bayley wins, carries the storyline into WrestleMania. Bianca gets added somehow, some way down the line.
I think at this point, the story will actually progress better if neither Bayley or Bianca are the winner. I do think one of them eliminates the other. And then, like we do see in Royal Rumbles past, the other one comes back and eliminates them back. So I could totally see that. And then that leads to a Mania match, whether it's for a title or not. But I think that's where they're going with that. I think the match that needs to get the build and would need the Royal Rumble win to help that even better is if Rhea Ripley wins the Royal Rumble, last eliminating Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair ends up winning the Raw Women's Championship from Asuka between now and Mania, just like it seems like, 2 years ago where Charlotte won the SmackDown Women's title here in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun Arena to lead to that triple threat winner-take-all match. So I have Rhea Ripley last eliminating Charlotte Flair to win the Royal Rumble in the women's side.
Yep.
Now,
and
the men's
is certainly logical.
It is. I hope it happens. I think Rhea is one of those that because of what happened last year at the start of the pandemic, I think that's changed the course of how they were booking WrestleMania. And this time where we know there's going to be at least 22,000 fans in attendance, that's going to help her and get her the push and get her a strong start for Mania. So we'll see where that goes. All right, here we go. The men's Royal Rumble. We already know number 1 and number 2 is Randy Orton and Edge, which completely ruined my prediction because I had the Royal Rumble winner and the Iron Man and even possibly the most eliminations going to Daniel Bryan at number 1, going the distance. And of course, WWE says, well, you already spoiled one of our surprises, Michael. You're not spoiling 2. And they give us this to start the match. Although I'll admit, this is a pretty cool way to start this year's Rumble.
Yeah, this is look. I mean, I still see some people upset about this. I really don't think this is a bad move by them because
they're upset because they're announcing the entrance ahead of time. Like this isn't the first time number 1 or number 2 has been announced.
No, and given this, there's bad blood there that's unresolved between these two. So this is a smart move by WWE to get the fans involved in talking. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with this. I really don't.
No, I don't either.
I think it's a good way to start the match.
And
I am now more excited for the Royal Rumble, knowing that it's going to open with these two, and look. This isn't last year where Edge is a surprise entrant. He said he was going to enter the Royal Rumble last year, so you're already expecting it. So it's not like you're spoiling the surprise,
right? And I also think the fact that Edge and Randy Orton are announced, I think it makes it even more unpredictable because it's not like Edge and Orton can't go 45, 60 minutes in a Royal Rumble to win it. Like Randy Orton won one of his Royal Rumbles at number 9, and I think lasted over 47 minutes. I don't know the exact number. I think that's somewhere around there. The greatest wrestling match ever. Granted, there was a lot of editing and whatnot, but that match was around 45 minutes. So these guys can go a long time. And Edge being, well rested could definitely go, 30, 40, 50 plus minutes in this Royal Rumble and could still be the guy that ends up winning this thing. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Personally, no, but I could totally see him being the Iron Man. Who do you see as the Iron Man in this Royal Rumble?
I do have Edge as the Iron Man.
Yeah, I think it's pretty certain. Now, with Orton at number 1, where does The Fiend play into this? Does he get kind of eliminated early and set up the continuation of The Fiend? Or does Orton have a big run and then later on in the night we have The Fiend interfere? Or even be in the Rumble match itself? Like, what if The Fiend is number 3?
Yeah, I think The Fiend can certainly be a surprise entrant. I think that The Fiend has to play a role in Orton getting eliminated because if they're going to have Edge and Orton in this, you got to find a way to get Randy Orton eliminated. And assuming they're going to continue the storyline with Orton and The Fiend, they got to continue that somehow in this match, I think. And I don't think Alexa Bliss gets involved in it. So it's got to be The Fiend. He's due to return, I would imagine. So yeah, I think he's either an entrant or he comes out and somehow costs Randy Orton the match or gets eliminated, cause him to be eliminated. So that's where I think they're going to go with this.
All right. So I'm sure you're familiar with what happened on Twitter. A report with WrestleVotes saying that the finish could be scary. Now, they didn't allude to which Royal Rumble match, which actual match is the scary finish. But I'm throwing this out there. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's throw this out there. Randy Orton is in the ring with, I don't know, who else? Whoever the final four are. Randy Orton ends up being one of the final two. Lights go out. Fiend music comes on. All of a sudden, Randy Orton's in there by himself and magically eliminates himself. Okay? Lights go back out. Fiend music. And then they come back on. In the ring, in the middle of the ring, is John Cena and wins his third Royal Rumble through the possession of the Fiend. Now that is a scary finish. That's good shit, pal.
Oh my God. As much as I would hope that wouldn't happen, it's something that I can foresee happening in WWE. Yeah, I honestly, look, I'm not into the whole teleportation. I am so beyond everything we've seen on Raw with Alexa Bliss and her costumes magically changing, her hairdo. 1 second she's got makeup on, the next she doesn't. There's a rocking horse and a playground. No, I'm sorry. Look, I like pro wrestling. I love it. It's fun to watch. I can't get into that. I'm sorry. I can't even imagine a child getting into that. It's just, in 2021, it's so embarrassing. It makes me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. I'm sorry, it does. I can't get into that.
I know. Sometimes if it's done well, like Undertaker obviously did stuff like that. And one of my favorite Royal Rumble moments, 1994, the casket match. After that match where he does the promo on the screen and then floats up in the air like as if he's ascending to heaven. That stuff's awesome. Like, I love that. That's like my favorite Royal Rumble moment outside of anything that happened in the actual match itself.
You know, I was thinking about that because that's the argument that always gets brought up, and I won't get into this in too much detail, but I was thinking about this. So people always bring up The Undertaker. Oh, The Undertaker, you don't say anything about him. The Undertaker during the Attitude Era admittedly had to change up who he was and what he was doing. Like what you're talking about happened at a time where pro wrestling was transitioning from, Papa Shango and Ultimate Warriors and things of that nature to the Attitude Era.
Right.
And the Undertaker stuck around first of all, the Undertaker throughout the Attitude Era was mostly the American badass, our big evil. And then eventually he transitioned back into that role, but people just were more accepting to it, I think, because he's like a legend in the business. I mean, I don't know. If rocking horses and playgrounds magically appearing as your thing, don't let me ruin the excitement for Monday Night Raw for you, but I just gladly and willingly shut the TV off. I haven't watched those segments. I can't tell you in weeks. I can't. It makes my skin crawl.
I want to see it happen just to get your reaction on Instagram when you do your reactions on our Instagram page at SCPB Podcast. I would love to see it and just laugh my ass off all night if that ends up being the finish that WrestleVotes was alluding to, but I definitely don't see that happening. Oh, look, he's got a rocking horse, everybody.
How ironic. Look at that. Maybe Alexa Bliss is going to pop up from in back of me and scare the crap out of me as we record.
All right. So we already know the Iron Man is going to be Edge. Most eliminations.
I'm going to go with Strowman. Okay.
Now that he came back, I actually had him as a surprise entrant, but now that he came back on SmackDown on Friday, definitely not happening. I actually am going with Cesaro. Cesaro's a guy that, the IWC has pushed for a very, very long time, and Vince McMahon, admittedly so, has not pulled the trigger on him because he doesn't have that charisma. And I kind of agree with him, because even when he's doing the guest commentary and cutting promos, he's so monotone that it's really just his in-ring work that he's allows to speak for. And in WWE, you got to have more than in-ring ability to be a star and to be pushed. But I definitely think Cesaro has a huge, huge night. I don't think he's going to end up in the final four. I don't think he's going to end up as an Iron Man, but I definitely see him having a big night as far as eliminations.
I can see that. It's interesting because there's like 3 or 4 guys that they were really pushing strongly. And then, obviously with Strowman returning, that kind of makes you think that they're going to do something with him as well. So the final 4 is definitely hard to predict
Mm-hmm.
and should be interesting going into the tail end of the match tonight.
So you brought it up. Who's your final 4?
My final 4, I got Daniel Bryan, Edge, Strowman, and Nakamura.
I have Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke Nakamura, Edge, and Sheamus in the final 4. And I could be completely wrong there, but the fact that we have no clue, like, I don't really think there's a clear cut, that guy's definitely winning this year. And the last time that happened was 2017. And that was the year Orton won his second one. And even when Orton won, I was really surprised when that happened. And I think tonight, the men's Royal Rumble is going to have some kind of repeated history, whether that's a repeat winner at a certain spot, a record being broken. I definitely see something happening where this is going to be a memorable Royal Rumble for something. Yep. Could it be that the 4th man or the 5th man at 27 wins the Royal Rumble? Could it be that someone or Edge wins at number 2, like Rey Mysterio and Vince McMahon? Does Randy Orton go over an hour? Does Cesaro get 14 eliminations? I definitely see something happening in this match that breaks a record or repeats something.
I'm going to throw some names out there. You tell me if they're going to be in the men's Royal Rumble.
Go ahead.
All right. Cena.
If I believe Brian Alvarez and said that he's in Vancouver filming a movie, I would say no. But originally, before we went live, I actually had Cena in my final 4 and swapped it out with Edge. So I'm going 50-50 with Cena.
CM Punk.
That's a good one because originally Backstage was promoted to have the number 30 entrant announced for the men's Rumble, and then they swapped it. So were they going to reveal Punk was number 30 and they didn't want that getting revealed, so they swapped it for 1 and 2?
Would make more sense for Punk to come back now, especially because they're transitioning to Peacock. They want that attention.
They
Punk
do.
was one of their bigger stars, so. Switchblade Jay White.
No.
Brock Lesnar.
Yes. And that's the thing, like if Lesnar's in it, I feel like he's going to win it. But
yeah, I agree. Because look, how do you, unless Keith Lee is somehow in it and goes against Brock.
Yeah, but I doubt Keith Lee's in it because of the news of Mia Yim testing positive for COVID. And Keith Lee hasn't been on since he lost the WWE Championship match against Drew McIntyre. Or no, sorry, it was the week after with the Triple H Orton thing. I think is the last time Keith Lee's been on TV. So has he had the virus? I don't know. A lot of people are speculating whether or not he has it. And I doubt, and I think this really threw a wrench into the whole thing because I feel like WWE wanted Keith Lee to win this Rumble. And now that the fact that he's not in it, they're scrambling. And I think it's more likely we see a Raw guy win than a SmackDown guy. Although my prediction would kind of contradict that. But because SmackDown is built so strong, they might use Raw to win this Rumble just to kind of counterbalance things.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what makes it difficult, especially with everything that's going on, because let's not forget, I mean, you got to think WWE is going to test people as soon as they get there on site, depending on what type of test they do. They could do the one where you send it out to a lab that takes like 3 days, 2 days to come back. You can do the rapid one on site there, which I'd imagine they're going to do.
Yes.
What happens if somebody tests positive?
Like Drew McIntyre.
Exactly. Now, who knows? I'm just speaking out loud here. A couple more names I'll throw out to you. Karrion Kross.
Yes.
Okay. Finn Balor.
Yes.
You think both of them? Okay. How about The Fiend?
Yes. Well, he'll appear. I don't know if he'll be in the match itself, but I do think he appears. I don't know into what capacity. He will be involved in Randy Orton's elimination, though.
Kurt Angle.
No.
Those are the only other guys I could think of. I mean, who's
Booker
to say?
T.
Kurt Angle might.
What about Booker T?
Yeah, he's a name that I thought about too. I could see him being an entrant, a surprise entrant,
especially with the song and what's his name, Bad Bunny, that's going to be performing the song Booker T. I would assume he's going to be there, so put him in the match. Why not? Samoa Joe. Does Samoa Joe come off the commentator table and become an entrant?
Certainly possible.
Yeah. I don't know if there's really any big free agents out there that could make a splash tonight other than Switchblade, but I don't see Switchblade. Do you see Switchblade?
No, I don't. I think he's staying with New Japan. I don't see him. I don't see it.
All right. Who do you have winning it?
I have Daniel Bryan winning it. I think this is his year, long awaited, long overdue. Unless Brock's in it, I think it's Daniel Bryan.
I think at this point, this is the money match if you're WWE. You have Daniel Bryan face Roman Reigns. You have Vince's guy versus the IWC's guy. You know the match is going to deliver at Mania. It's Daniel Bryan's last chance at getting that main event before he, heads into part-time status, heads more into the creative side, backstage. The story writes itself. It really does. The yes movement versus the head of the table. I think it has to happen. And if it doesn't, I think you're going to get a lot of people saying if Daniel Bryan doesn't win, we riot. And I don't know if they can rebound like they did in 2014 tonight if Daniel Bryan does not win, depending on who ends up winning this thing.
Yeah, I think that if it's not Daniel Bryan, a couple other people that I think could potentially win, Edge, Brock, if Brock is in it, he could potentially win.
Goldberg, if he somehow wins. Nakamura.
Goldberg.
As long as Goldberg's there, you have to assume he wins. As horrible as that sounds. If Cena's in it, you have to assume he wins.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. And, I'm not really a big Cena fan, but you got Cena versus Roman. I would imagine it'd be Roman, even Drew for that matter.
The promos would be on fire between Cena and
seen it before.
We've
seen it before, and now we've seen Roman, but this is a very different Roman Reigns than the Roman Reigns we saw in their original feud. So to kind of bring things full circle, yeah.
Yep, and even you have Heyman there too to help with the whole story too. So it could happen. Even with Brock Lesnar winning, Brock versus Reigns, I know we've seen it at the main event thousands of times already, but now with the different dynamic of Heyman behind Reigns instead of Lesnar, that would be an interesting dynamic. But all right, shall we do some over-unders before we head to the questions?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Over, under, Ralph. Women's Royal Rumble, Iron Woman, 33 minutes, over, under.
Under.
Shortest time, over, under, 12 seconds.
Over.
Over, under, eliminations, 4.
Over.
All right, I'm going over for the Iron Woman. I'm going under for shortest time. And I'm going to go over with eliminations. I think Bianca has 5 or 6. Men's, 34 minutes, Iron Man.
Over, because I have Edge as my Iron Man.
I agree. Over, under, shortest time, 8 seconds.
Over.
I'm going under. I think someone's going to get dumped pretty quickly. I don't know if like in the Santino Marella elm, but I definitely see someone going out in like 4 seconds. Most eliminations, 6.
Over Strowman.
I'm going to go under with Cesaro. I think under 5 is probably where he's going to do, because there's so many guys that are going to have good performances and multiple eliminations. I don't think anybody's going to have like a 8, 9, 10 performance, but I don't know. I could be wrong. So, all right, guys, we are going to answer your questions right now. Before we do, head into the chat right now. Use the hashtag question with your question. It makes it easier for me to see the question as I go through them. We're going in the order that the questions came in the live chat. If you want to cut the line, donate to the super chat party. Any dollar amount will do. Help support this channel. And we'll answer your question immediately when it shows up here on our chat here for the super chats. Also, we have merchandise 10% off, as you see on the screen right now. 10% off, promo code SCPB10. Link in the description. And Ralph, tonight on Instagram at SCPB Podcast, we'll be doing live reactions for the Royal Rumble. After every match, he'll give his thoughts on it. So follow us on Instagram. Link is also in the description for our Instagram. Follow us, and he'll be doing, I don't know if you're doing it through stories or posts, however you're going to do it, but he will have his reactions there. So without further ado, let's go through the questions. Again, thank you everybody for joining us here on the Squared Circle Psycho Battle. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, here is the first question. Why do they keep announcing surprises like Edge and Orton at number 1 and 2 and Trish Stratus for the women? Now, like I said, I don't think it was confirmed that Trish Stratus is in the Rumble, but do you have a problem with them announcing ahead of time who Edge being number 1 and, or excuse me, Orton being 1 and Edge at 2?
I think it's situational. Now, look, last year, Edge making his return, that was an epic moment. Would I be happy if they announced that beforehand? No. I think that the surprise element, especially given that he hasn't been there for so long, made for a great moment. Like if Punk came out tonight and they didn't announce that, that would be a great moment. If it's already determined that these people have announced that they're going to be in the Royal Rumble, I don't have a problem with them saying who's at what spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's just more of like I guess a business thing. Like you're going to obviously advertise Edge being in the Royal Rumble,
Right?
Because more people are going to resonate with that and follow it. So,
And don't forget, there's no crowd. So,
Right.
like the surprise entrance, it's not going to get the same reaction because there's no fans actually in attendance. And the Thunderdome, they don't feed in the people that are actually on the Thunderdome. So, yes, they're going to have natural reaction, but they're going to pipe in. And that's going to be weird when, like, the Thunderdome has no reaction and they pipe in like, oh my God, this is awesome. That's going to be weird. And Kevin Dunn's probably going to do that because he doesn't know how to read the room sometimes. But let's see. Next question. What happened to Shayna Baszler? She was such a force in NXT. The problem with Shayna was, one, she lost at Mania to Becky. And then Becky left to have a kid. So that didn't help matters. But there's only so many people that could be in the title picture. And the problem, first off, is Raw doesn't have a title picture, which she should definitely be a part of. But I'll ask the same question. Like, what is going on with Shayna Baszler? I feel like they could book her stronger, but I think part of it is just the fact that Vince probably does not see the charisma that some others might see. And that could be why.
Well, I think there's a lot of things you can point to. Some people just don't make the transition from NXT to the main roster because, you're going from a much smaller audience to mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And the only other thing I can think of or point to, when they had Ronda Rousey was the better version of Shayna. And I'm not saying that as like in ring, who's better, who's more skilled. Ronda Rousey was a UFC women's champion. She was a pioneer of women's MMA. Shayna Baszler was not. So you have Ronda, who's a heel, who has all these credentials and has worked in the UFC and all of the attention, all of that stuff, or Shayna Baszler. If you're Vince, it's an easy decision of who you're going to go with and who you're going to push.
I agree.
That's my take on it. So
I agree. Next question. We're going to move to AEW and New Japan. What do you guys think? Will Moxley retain the IWGP United States Championship, or will this be the start of Kenta's U.S. title reign? Now, for those that don't know, on New Japan Strong this past Friday, Jon Moxley did appear, called out Kenta. They had a face-to-face. We will eventually see this match. Moxley says it's going to happen in Tokyo, not going to happen in the LA dojo. Where do you see Moxley retaining, or do you see Kenta finally getting the U.S. title?
I see Kenta winning.
I agree.
Moxley's one of the top guys in AEW. His focus should be on storylines there.
I agree. All right, next question here. Does anyone actually think some new version of The Fiend returns to the Rumble tonight and takes out Randy Orton? Now, I already said that Orton is going to get eliminated some way with The Fiend. I do see a new version of The Fiend coming tonight. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like, are they going to have a mask that just burned off at some points? And you see like, kind of like Harvey Two-Face there, where half of Firefly Funhouse face is showing, and then The Fiend has his. Maybe. I just don't know how they're going to pull this off.
How are they going to pull off the fact that Randy Orton has had 3-degree burns for 2 weeks?
Well,
3 weeks.
He's just going to have those burns tonight.
Is it, you think so?
Unless
he surprised if Randy Orton comes out just plain old Randy Orton.
Or The Fiend comes out, puts on the heel mask on Randy Orton, and he is cleared of his burns, and they start a tag team together.
Who knows?
Who knows? But let's see. Next question. I just had it. Here we go. Seriously, who cares about the women's tag team championship match? Do you think they should do, what do you think they should do with the tag titles and the division itself? It looks like they're actually starting to build a division with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, Charlotte and Asuka, Shayna and Anaya. You have the Riot Squad. So they're actually building some tag teams, and that probably is going to end up as a fatal 4-way at Mania. But I agree. Like, ever since the inception, like, these titles should be bigger than they are, and they're not.
I would have kept Peyton Royce and Billie Kay together and just let them run with it. I mean, you're not doing anything with the titles anyway. At least there's some charisma there, and they're funny. And I mean, what's the worst that could happen? If you're not going to have them defend on a weekly basis, look, I get it. Those two aren't the best in the ring, but they don't need to be if they're not going to be wrestling every single week. So that's what I would have done.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing with Billie Kay doing the resume thing has been very, very funny. I think it's, as far as comedy is concerned, probably the funniest thing that we've seen in WWE since R-Truth in the 24/7 title when it first started. But I don't know, maybe she pulls out the resume and Peyton Royce hires her and they're back as a tag team again. But next question here. Do you think that by having a match between Roman and Kevin Owens in every pay-per-view just proves that Roman does not have a proper opponent? I don't think so. I think it's just the story being developed. We've seen this so many times where WWE will have the same match in a 3 pay-per-view storyline. It's not necessarily that they don't have a proper opponent. They're building them right now. Nakamura, Cesaro, Big E, Strowman. Like, there's guys there. And I know Strowman right now is on Raw, but if he wins the Royal Rumble, he can go to SmackDown. So I would disagree that they don't have a, quote, proper opponent for him. It's just that's how the story's developed right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like we said, I mean, you even bring in some of the more dream opponents, Brock Lesnar, Cena. I mean, between all those guys we just talked about, that's over a year's worth of feuds if he retains the title.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. All right. We're still continuing our questions here. Use the hashtag question with your questions. And also join the super chat party. If you want your question immediately answered, you could cut the line. Any dollar amount will help support the channel and we'll answer that question. So again, thank you guys for joining us so far. We're going to keep going as far as we can. The Royal Rumble tonight, starting at 7. I don't think we're going to go all the way to 7, but we'll go as far as we have questions here. Why does everyone blame Tokyo Dome for Meltzer's star ratings? Those matches are seriously that good only because Meltzer rates them. Why? So Ralph, I'll let you answer this. Why do you not care about Meltzer's star ratings?
Why don't I care about it? Because it's subjective. It's one guy's opinion of what pro wrestling should be and what makes for a good match. And that's
exactly.
My personal opinion, what did I think the best wrestling match of 2020 was? Walter's match with Ilya.
Ilya Dragunov.
Thank you, Dragunov. That to me, that was the best pro wrestling match. Now to other people, they may have said, the Bucks and Kenny and and Hangman, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer to some little kid. He's going to say the best match is, I don't know, like a match he saw, some random match that he saw on Monday Night Raw with the New Day and whoever else. It's subjective. There's obviously good matches, and there's a lot of great matches that, people probably overlook because, oh, well, it only got 3.5 stars to one person.
Yeah.
I don't know, watch the match yourself. And if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you did it.
Right. No, I totally agree. Like, I think the problem is people take those star ratings as like the gospel and think, oh, Meltzer gave it 5 stars, so it's got to be a perfect match. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, I think Okada versus Omega is probably the best match I've ever seen, but someone else can also say it's Taker versus Shawn. And I would agree, both of them have their solid arguments. But what the problem is, Meltzer, it's like he automatically drops a star because it's a WWE match, as opposed to New Japan, where he'll add a star because it's a New Japan match. And if it's a Kenny match, he'll add 2 stars. And if it's a Bucks match, he'll add another 2 stars. That's the problem. It's a little inconsistent. And we never really knew. Yeah, and it's his opinion. But the problem is we don't know exactly what his actual, criteria is. So we just go by, okay, if it's in the Tokyo Dome, it gets an extra 2 stars. That's really all it is. And people just make a joke about it.
Yeah, the worst part about all of that is whenever people try to have a conversation about what match was better or what the best match, some people will legitimately say, oh, well, it got 5 stars. Like, okay, so that's
like they use, oh, well, Kenny Omega has had more 5-star matches than anybody. That's why he's the greatest wrestler ever. That's not how it works. Like, he's a good wrestler. Is he the greatest wrestler ever? No. Shawn Michaels is, in my opinion. And then after that, it's Kurt Angle. After that, it's Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage. Kenny Omega is one of the best today, but he's not the best of all time.
And some people may disagree with you.
Meltzer's going to disagree with me because of whatever his reasons are. And that's all it is. That's all it is. But then people get worked up on it because, they just simply, they think he's biased. They think he's inconsistent. And then people just, they use it as confirmation bias.
Listen, if you're using Meltzer's star ratings to justify any of your arguments of who was the best or who is the best or who had the better match, it's lazy. It's lazy. You got to do better than that. That's not a legitimate argument. That's one person's opinion of a match.
Yes.
And there's no substance to that.
Right.
I may have so if you agree with Dave and I disagree with Dave, how are you going to prove me wrong? You're going to say, oh, well, he got 7 stars and that match got 5.
Right.
But it's one guy's opinion of how good a wrestling match is based on his preference of what makes a good match.
Right. All right. We did get a couple super chats here, so let's get those in. K Webb gave us $10. Thank you very much for your donation, Kay. Big supporter of the channel. He's throwing some names out there for tonight. Seth Rollins, Aleister Black, Pat McAfee, Damian Priest, Triple H, Tommaso Ciampa, Wade Barrett, RVD, Victoria, Taya Valkyrie, Kairi Sane. Out of those names, Rollins I could see, Aleister Black I could see, McAfee maybe, Priest I could see, Triple H probably not, because if he's in it, he's got to win it.
No, he doesn't.
I think he does. If he's in it, he's got to win it. It's Triple H. He's got to have the big match. He's got to have it be the longest match. He's got to win it if he's in it. Tommaso Ciampa I could see. Wade Barrett would be awesome, but if Drew McIntyre was actually in the Rumble match, I think would really help with that. RVD, maybe to help push the Icon series. I know they're doing an RVD episode.
Yep.
I could see that.
Yep.
Victoria, I don't see. I would love it, but I would not. Like, she's probably that, I don't know why, but she is so ghosted when it comes to talking about the women's evolution. She never gets talked about, but during a time where Lita and Trish Stratus were like the big names, Victoria was probably the best in-ring wrestler at the time.
Yeah, she really is overlooked quite a bit. it's so puzzling because you hear people talk about so many other women that maybe weren't even necessarily as involved or in more prominent roles than her. So, I don't know. Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah. So, but Taya Valkyrie, if she's coming to WWE, that makes a lot of sense, especially with her involvement with John Morrison. Kairi Sane, I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure she's still in Japan and she's doing stuff with what eventually is going to become NXT Japan. So I don't see that happening, although I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. So
let me answer this really quick. Somebody said, you said Dragunov and Walter was your favorite match. What about Ibushi versus Okada? We just did our top 5 for the year, and I think that was my number 2 or 3. I think it was number 2.
Yeah. Actually, in Wrestle Kingdom, I actually had Ospreay versus Takahashi from that same show. So I don't see that happening. I don't have that as my top 5 like some people do. But we also got another super chat party donation here. Zero the Hero, big commenter on our page. He loves to wow it up with people, whether it's trolling or not. It's up to what you guys decide, but big supporter of the channel regardless. He says NWA returns to save wrestling. Yeah, Eli Drake. It would be nice to get NWA back into the swing of things, but I don't even know what, like, are they going to, is Thunder Rosa still part of NWA? Nick Aldis is still the champions. Eli Drake has done well in NWA, but, we'll see where that goes, but I would love for them to bounce back after being, not necessarily part of anything for the last year. So, now this is why you gotta have the hashtag question when you ask a question, because now I have to figure out where I last was. So, Ralph, you want to plug your Instagram thing while I'm looking for the next question?
Sure. Follow our Instagram page. I'm doing live reactions. There you go.
A man of few words, Ralph. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go. This is, I don't think Ronda is coming back. Reason could be her comment on fake fighting, which created heat. Is it possible this might be the reason if she's not coming back?
So we're talking about Ryback now?
No, Ronda. We're talking about Ronda, where she said, that wrestling's fake, right? And I think that created heat, and now that's why she's not going to come back.
Ryback said pretty much essentially the same thing.
He did, but he's an asshole. Let's put it bluntly. He's an asshole. Ronda Rousey's not. So I could totally see her coming back. Her comment, I think, helped the storyline with her and Becky, where Ryback is just a sour jackass that can't get signed because he was never good to begin with. I'm with Mark Henry 100% on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, at some point, when do you stop with the comments and all the negativity towards the company you don't even work for anymore?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, what are you trying to accomplish by saying those things?
Absolutely nothing. Like, he's just a guy that thought he was bigger than he was. He should have got pushed in 2013, 2014. He wasn't the guy because, quite frankly, he was not. He had the nickname, but he was not the big guy in WWE. That's all it is. Next question. If Goldberg were to win the WWE Championship, should Drew get a rematch or have someone like Bray Wyatt take the title? Drew's got to get a rematch. Like,
the last thing, I honestly, look, I know people like The Fiend. It's a cool gimmick, all that type of stuff. Honestly, I don't recall, other than the match with Daniel Bryan, like, he just doesn't have good matches. So now we're going to put The Fiend in a championship match against Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
Count me out of that one, man. I'm not into that.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Like, if Drew loses the title and he's not going to go over Roman, he's got to get the rematch against Goldberg. And I wouldn't hate it. I'd be okay with it because Drew would go over at Mania and get his Mania moment, although that would not be the way I go with it. I see a few questions here about Tessa Blanchard appearing in the Royal Rumble tonight. Did we bring her name up at all for a surprise entrance?
I think I mentioned her. We didn't mention, surprisingly, The Miz.
He's in the Rumble.
Is Miz cashing in?
You know what?
Is he cashing in?
I think so, but he's going to lose if he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot see him taking the title off of Drew McIntyre or Bill Goldberg. But it would get a way to get the title off of McIntyre without burying him by Goldberg. Like, let's say Goldberg spears McIntyre, but then all of a sudden, Miz comes out, hits Goldberg with the briefcase, cashes in, and wins.
I like The Miz. I think that The Miz has done a really good job with all of the opportunities he's been given. But I just don't, right now, going into WrestleMania season, the fact that you now have a legitimate company as competition with AEW, I think The Miz's window of actually being the champion for Raw or SmackDown is all but certainly done.
Yeah.
I like him. I think that he's good at what he does. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves, I think, a lot of times, but I don't see him winning the championship. I really don't.
No, I don't either. All right, we still have a couple questions left here, but if you want to cut the line, donate to the Super Chat Party, any dollar amount. We also have the merchandise available, 10% off, promo code SCPB10, link in the description. And we also have Ralph is going to be on Instagram tonight with his reaction to the Royal Rumble tonight. Follow us at SCPB Podcast on Instagram. Link also in the description there. Ralph puts on the glasses, and that actually brings me to my next question that was brought up. Was Ralph wearing safety glasses earlier?
No, these are my prescription glasses, folks.
When did you get prescription glasses?
I'm 34 years old now, and I'm not a young buck.
Yeah, I'm 32.
Apparently, a 34-year-old young buck can still go balding and still be young. And certainly I'm there all the way there with the balding part of it.
That's
but
that's
that
true.
may or may not have been a subtle shot at some of the folks from the other company that we're not talking about today.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm 32 and my job, I literally have to look at screens all day and I don't have prescription glasses.
That's what these are. They're those glasses that you look at a screen and it blocks out the...
Oh, they're blue light glasses.
Sure.
Okay.
Which, now that I think about this, when does a buck truly reach full maturity? Do we know that yet?
I don't know.
Is there when a buck gets to being at full maturity, does he suddenly develop a certain level of ring psychology?
Does anybody? I'm sure there's some people in the hip hop community. When did Little Bow Wow become Bow Wow, and when did Little Romeo become Romeo? I think that's when we have.
Bow Wow is getting crucified for his recent events. He had a super spreader event where he decided he was going to host a show, I think in Houston or something.
I did read about that. I didn't get the full details or whatnot, but I did see that on social media. People were complaining about him. But yeah. So if someone can answer when did Lil Bow Wow become Bow Wow and when did Little Romeo become Romeo, that's when we could say the Young Bucks turn into just the Bucks. But next question. What's next for KO if he loses the Universal Championship?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. That's the tough thing because I don't think they anticipated him getting the momentum that he's gotten to this point. So that's on them. That's where WWE has to use their creative team to figure out what the hell is next for him. I honestly don't know where they go with that.
I think they're building the Intercontinental Championship picture while kind of focusing it in with Roman. Like everything ties to Roman, but really what it's doing is building the Intercontinental Championship picture. So I could see Roman versus Sami Zayn down the line as a Intercontinental Championship match. And I know Big E has the title now, but obviously Big E will have a title reign, drop the title, and then head to Roman or whoever the Universal Champion is. That's where I see that going. So eventually, I think KO will be in the Intercontinental title picture after dropping to Roman. Let's see here. Who is more likely and which would you prefer to be a surprise entrant tonight? Jeff Jarrett, Road Dogg, Carlito, Lance Storm, or Gangrel?
Gangrel. Hands down, I was a big Brood fan back in the day. We've seen most of those other people in other various Royal Rumble spots, and we haven't seen Gangrel in a long time. And their music is awesome. Their theme. So
well, they can't do I don't think they could do the entrance like they used to. But that would be awesome if they could do that entrance where they rise. Maybe Gangrel's number 3. He comes in number 3 and teams up with Edge. And then Christian's number 4. And then Jeff Hardy's number 5. So you have all these former Brood members together.
You know, I wanted to put Christian on my list as a surprise entrant, and I forgot until you said him.
Yep. So it could be. I would love to see Lance Storm. Like, that guy, as far as training's concerned, that guy has done so much for today's wrestlers. Like, he's trained Dominic Mysterio, Chelsea Green, Brian Pillman Jr. There's so many other people that I know I'm missing, but he's trained so many guys today. I think just for that sheer fact of helping the future and the great psychology that he has, give him a spot. And especially because he was one of those laid off, give him a Rumble appearance. One last time he could be serious for a minute. Do it. Book it, Vince.
Listen, I was also a big fan of Lance Storm in ECW. Him and Just Incredible, I believe they were called the Impact Players. Back when people were watching the Attitude Era, I watched obviously a lot of Attitude Era, but I was really into ECW too. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the top guys there.
Yep. Totally see that. I see a lot of people coming in now. We're doing our Q&A here. If you want to join us, feel free to do so. Put the question, use the hashtag question in the live chat. We're going in the order that they come in the live chat, but if you want to cut the line, join the super chat party. Any dollar amount will get you right in front of the line. So if you only have $2, if you have $5, $10, whatever it is, we greatly appreciate it. And we also have merchandise available, 10% off, SCPB10, link in the description.
What are you eating during the Royal Rumble? Are you ordering anything? Are you still doing that stupid Whole 30 nonsense?
I'm not doing the Whole 30 diet, but I don't know, probably just chips. Like I'm not much of a snacker. I never really was. So unless there's Oreos, that's my kryptonite. I can eat the whole box of Oreos. Even if I watch what I eat, I still can eat a whole thing of Oreos. But what do you have on tap?
I haven't decided. I haven't really eaten much today. I had a cup of coffee this morning. I worked out. I think.
Did you use your SCPB mug?
I did not. No.
You bastard! You're supposed to say yes. Kayfabe, Ralph.
I've already had 3 cups of coffee today. Maybe
what? I'm 3 cups of coffee.
Nice
For those that don't know, a Beats is pizza in New Haven.
No, there's pizza and then there's a Beats.
But not everybody knows what a Beats is. So I'm just trying to clarify it for people that are not from New Haven, the pizza capital of the world. So
New Haven's got some great food. Maybe I'll get some Archie chicken wings.
There you go.
That's what I'm in the mood for.
All right. Let us know in the live chat. What's everybody eating tonight for the Rumble? Wings,
Here's
pizza.
The best comment.
What's that?
Best comment so far. Hannah Brown. Poop. Send her a t-shirt. The best comment of the day. Poop.
I'm pretty sure she's new to the channel, so I don't know how to reach her, but if you want to give her a shirt for that comment, we'll figure it out. But let's see. Where's my next question? I just had it. Everyone keeps bringing up AEW buying Impact. What do you think about them purchasing NWA? They're not buying anybody. They're just having partnerships. There's no buying. And that goes against what AEW talks about. They want to help grow the industry by partnerships. They don't want to buy out like Vince did with the territories. Don't do that. It will hurt wrestling in the end.
Didn't Impact just buy a TV station not too long ago?
No, well, the TV network is what bought Impact. Access TV and the company that Anthem bought the network, and now the network is part of Impact. Like that's all it is. So it's not like NBC bought the WWE network like people thought it was. Next question here. Okay. I apologize. I'm trying to read this. It's not exactly. What would have AEW looked like if it was actually sports based? It would look like New Japan or MLW. That's it. And it's still kind of sports based. They just don't go full on with it. But if they want to go full on with it, watch MLW Fusion on Wednesday or watch New Japan. That's really what it should have been. Nothing? You're good? Concur?
I'm at a loss. I have nothing to say.
Ralph's got the cornet glasses on. He's just not using the cornet mouth today. All right. Do you think that All Elite should make the FTW title as a hardcore title, for guys like Joey Janela, since he's not on, to get a TNT or world title shot?
Oh, if Joey Janela had the FTW title, it would be like the 24/7 championship. What are we talking about?
I mean, it could be a hardcore title, but I would rather see it as like a super heavyweight title personally. I think it fits the idea of, badassness than just having hardcore matches just because these guys don't know how to put a real match together. Why not have Tessa debut and go the distance with Charlotte leading to a WrestleMania match? Good old school element while elevating Tessa instantly.
Wrestling shit.
All right, I'll let you talk about this, Cornette. Would you like to see that?
As a fan, yes. Do I anticipate there being a ton of backlash because Tessa Blanchard would debut? Yes. But I mean, look, there's going to be the certain subset of the fans that would crap all over this. You've got Tessa Blanchard, who comes with a lot of baggage. You got Charlotte, who is everybody's favorite pro wrestler to hate on if you're, a certain subset of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Would I like to see it just as from a pure pro wrestling standpoint? Yeah, of course I would. But I don't know how likely that is for her to actually debut tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think if she doesn't appear tonight, she's definitely not going to WWE. That's how I feel. But a lot of people do believe like this is the night she debuts. So I could totally see that happening. Let's see. Next question here. Would you pay to see Fatback versus Sexual Chocolate Mark Henry? If it's a legit fight, yes. If it's a wrestling match, no.
If it's a legit fight, I mean, honestly, I might pay to see Jake Paul and Ben Askren.
I don't know who those are. I'll be honest with you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, those sideshow type of freak fights are unfortunately becoming more and more popular, especially because of somebody like Jake Paul. So would I pay for it? I wouldn't pay more than $5 to see it, but I'd be interested. I'd be intrigued.
Right. Did you guys watch Ospreay versus Okada this year, or Shingo versus Cobb, Shingo versus Tanahashi? I did not watch Shingo versus Tanahashi, but I heard good things. Shingo and Cobb, I saw that was a good match. Okada and Ospreay was a really good match.
Yes.
Let's see. Next question. Let's see. I think we're running down the bottom here. Let's see. That one was already answered. Let's see. Tessa or Taya Valkyrie for the women's, men's RVD to promote, and Carlito. Carlito, I think a lot of people would enjoy if he becomes a surprise entrant.
Yep. Yeah, especially considering he didn't actually show up at like Raw Legends Night like they were saying he was going to.
Yep. All right, we got some people with their choice of food tonight for the Rumble, Ralph. Here we go. We got Sean Douglas. He's making a homemade pizza with wings, baked beans, chicken wing dip. Go Heels is doing chicken fajitas. Zero the Hero, homemade pizza. Ryan Christensen, tacos and refried beans. Very interesting. Someone said steak and swordfish. Ryan Davis going with the surf and turf dinner with rice and mac and cheese. Give me your address. I'll fly to your house right now and have a plate for me on that one. Here's a question. If Keith Lee does enter the Rumble, who do you think eliminates him?
That's tough.
I don't think he's going to be in it, because if he is exposed to Mia Yim, he's definitely not in it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But if somehow he's managed to not be contagious or at risk and he ends up in the Rumble, I would go with Karrion Kross eliminates him.
That's a good pick. Strowman, maybe. It's gonna have to be somebody that's a bigger guy, unless they do the spot where like everybody throws him over. But I'll go with Strowman.
Someone made a comment. Now, I'm not saying this is true or not, but someone said, I was walking down Tampa and I saw CM Punk. CM Punk saw me, winked at me, and then drew the number 30 in the air with his fingers.
Oh,
it's happening. Who is more likely to appear tonight? Melina, Victoria, or Tessa Blanchard?
Melina out of that group, I would say.
I would agree. What's your favorite jelly bean? I don't like jelly beans. I don't eat them either.
Pez.
Yeah. I'm not a candy guy unless it's like Hershey's chocolate. I'm very like, does Conor McGregor's most recent UFC loss increase the likeliness of a WWE run in the future?
I don't think Conor McGregor would be a good fit for WWE. We've
Really?
seen this before. No. We've seen this before. We've seen it where, number one, coming in off a loss like Ronda Rousey did, or she had a couple of losses, always makes it more difficult. Look, when Floyd Mayweather came in and wrestled or had that match against Big Show, it was a big deal because Floyd Mayweather was still in his prime. He was still undefeated. Nobody had beaten him. If Conor McGregor was at his peak, and you know, people could argue what his peak of popularity was, or even if it's still at that now. If you're the champion and you're coming in off a winning streak and you go to WWE or you go to another promotion, people are going to want to see you. But when you're coming in off a loss like he has right now, or Ronda Rousey did when she debuted, you're always going to get those people that are going to be like, oh, well, they're only in WWE because they can't do it in the real sport anymore. So there's that. The other thing is this, like Conor McGregor is so good at the impromptu, like real sports-based promotion. To go from that to now handing a guy a script and saying, here, go out there and promote it this way, it doesn't always work. They've tried to do that so many different times with so many different people. Floyd Mayweather is another example of that too. I mean, yes, did it work and were people excited? I think people are excited about it, but going back and listening to Floyd Mayweather on the mic and having some of those interactions with Big Show was not good. I mean, it was bad.
Right.
So look, Conor coming off a couple of wins, being the UFC champion, a one-off thing at WrestleMania, sure, I'd be open to that. Full time, no.
Right.
No, thank you.
Right. I mean, I think he actually would be better off at WWE. I think there's very few cases where Vince McMahon will go, all right, this guy could talk and I trust him to say what he has to say. Now, the problem with him is, can you keep him censored and not say things that will upset the network? That would be the problem. But I think Vince would be like, all right, say what you want. We're not going to restrict you as long as you don't say any bad words. Go ahead. And I think he'll be just fine.
What role would he play? You were talking, he's going to be a pro wrestler. First of all, he's at most 170 pounds, 175 pounds.
Yeah.
At most.
That's true.
He fights in the 155 division and he cuts weight. So
well, you can use him as a manager, I guess.
Conor McGregor's not signing up to be a manager.
I know that. I know.
Talking about here.
I know.
No. So like promoting a match at WrestleMania, special guest referee. Okay, great. Yeah, go ahead and do it. As a wrestler, no, I don't see it.
Right. All right. Next question. Favorite wrestling and non-wrestling book? I don't read, so I can't. I know you read, so
I don't know if I have a favorite book. I just read The Alchemist not too long ago. That was really good. Favorite wrestling book? I haven't read many wrestling books. Mick Foley's Have a Nice Day was the first wrestling book I read, I believe, and that was very good. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. All right. We'll go with that. Will Shotzi Blackheart be in the Royal Rumble? I say yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. A lot of people asking for RVD. Will he show up? I say yes. Hold on. damn it. Sometimes with the freaking mouse, I have a tough time figuring out where I was. There's a question about, oh, here it is. Why not bring back Rowan for a short-term feud with Bray Wyatt, breaking him away from the Orton Edge path to Mania? I imagine the unfortunate loss of Brody and Brody Lee, Luke Harper gets renewed interest. No? If Rowan comes back, I would say full time. I would not have him just have a one-off with Bray. It's not like a Ronda or Floyd Mayweather, like someone that could draw in viewers. Like, no offense to Rowan, but he's not exactly like, oh my God, Rowan's back kind of thing.
Right.
So, which talent is better for TV? Jacob Fatu, Will Ospreay, or Alexander Hammerstone?
Jacob Fatu? Yeah, probably. I would say Jacob Fatu.
I go Hammerstone.
He was, yeah. Him too. I'll say Fatu.
Although Ospreay does cut a good promo as a heel. Isn't the Rumble the perfect excuse to give Shamrock his return? Not without the full-blown signing him set up Hall of Fame in the future. I'd love to see Shamrock back.
I would agree. Right
You're
now,
right.
My cat is clawing my freaking legs right now.
That freaking cat has become the heel of the Squared Circle Psychobabble podcast.
Shit. God, I guess that's what tacks feel like in your freaking leg.
Ugh. My cat will claw my feet while I'm sleeping. She'll wake me up just to tell me she's got food, and that's the way she does it. All right. I think we're at the bottom here. We've gotten through all the questions here. So, any final thoughts before we head out?
Let's all unite and pray to God that Bill Goldberg does not beat Drew McIntyre tonight.
I agree. I think we're at a point now as wrestling fans, regardless if you're an AEW or WWE fan, if you're polarized either way, I think we can all be in agreement, like, Goldberg cannot win tonight. If Goldberg wins, we riot. And if there was a sign tonight, if there were fans in the crowd, that sign would be there. Like Cena at One Night Stand. But again, your picks are Shayna and Nia winning the women's title, correct?
Yep.
You have Sasha retaining. You have Drew retaining, and you have Roman retaining.
Mm-hmm.
With Bayley winning the women's and Daniel Bryan winning the men's.
Yes.
Okay. I have title change for the women, all retentions. I have the women going to Rhea Ripley and the men's going to Daniel Bryan. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here on this really long live edition of the Squared Circle Psychobabble. This might actually be our longest episode yet. The Royal Rumble, my personal favorite pay-per-view of the year for WWE. Even without the fans in attendance, the Thunderdome should make it seem like a good experience nonetheless. The honestly, uncertainty of what's going to happen in the men's Rumble has got me excited. The women's too. I think we're in for a very fun night. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so that you know when our next episodes are going to be. You don't miss an episode. Don't forget to share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, SCPB Podcast. Join Ralph tonight on Instagram. He's going to be giving his live reactions for each match after they're done. SCPB10 with that promo code in the description for merchandise. Get 10% off your order. Anything else to add, Ralph?
No, follow us on Instagram. Like Michael said, I'm going to be doing our live, some live reactions on there. And yeah, hopefully tonight's pay-per-view is fun, lives up to expectations, and hoping that, like I said, we don't get a Goldberg win.
Let's hope. Pray to God. Pray to Bruno Sammartino. Pray to all those that the wrestling gods out there. Pray to all of them. Don't let Goldberg win tonight.
Yeah.
For Ralph Valenti, my name's Michael Valenti. Thank you all for joining us here on the Squared Circle for Psychobabble. Enjoy the Royal Rumble tonight. Good night, everybody.